Welcome back. This is the final section of the video on beginning your meditation practice. We're almost there. Thanks for hanging in there. What we're going to talk about in this final section are some additional techniques. So once you have become proficient, once you've come to a place, whether it's taken you a day or a week or a month or a year or 2 years, it doesn't matter how long. But once you're proficient in being able to focus on something like your breath for some period of time using a technique like counting the breath, then there are lots of other techniques that you can use to further refine and enhance your ability to focus the mind. We're going to talk about visualization in this section. We're going to talk about focusing on actual images, objects, and we're going to talk about using short phrases or words as a source for meditation, and we'll also talk about sounds. Let's talk first about visualization. When I first began meditating many years ago, I used a visualization technique that involved an orange, a real orange that you'd eat. And what I would do is close my eyes and imagine that in front of me, suspended in space, in a dark, limitless space, was an orange. And there was only one light in this space, and it was a light that was lighting the orange from the side. And what I would do in meditation is examine the surface of the orange, and then I'd notice how the orange would slowly begin to rotate. And as the orange rotated in my visualization, I'd see the little valleys and peaks on the skin of the orange of light and darkness. And I just stay focused on that visualization. That's an example of something you might visualize. You may have something else you prefer to think about, but that's just an example. Something else you might do is focus on an actual object. So with your eyes open, have an object in front of you and just stare softly, not too intently, but stare softly at the object. People sometimes use things like rocks, candle, the flame in a candle is also a very common source of meditation. So for example, you can take a candle, set it in front of you, light it, and just have the rest of the lights in the room down very low, so that all that's in front of you, all that occupies your awareness, is the candle flame. And you'll see the flame, and you'll notice how it's changing from second to second, and how it gets bigger and smaller and moves side to side. You'll notice how the colors change. You may even notice sounds that the candle flame makes. And that will be what the focus is of your awareness. Or maybe you might have a rock and you'd hold it in your hand and rotate it, watching the surface. I'd be careful about getting something that's too detailed. If you have something that's too detailed, what happens is that's not abstract. Your mind begins to assign content, emotional content, to whatever it is you're seeing. And that'll take you away from meditating on the object, focusing on the object, and will shoot you off into imagining the object somewhere else and things like that. So that can be counterproductive. So I just caution about getting something that's too involved like that. Keep it more abstract. You can also use a word. Is really nice. Sometimes you can have very nice meditations focusing on a word like oneness. And you'll just repeat it to yourself. Oneness. Oneness. You can do it verbally, you can do it out loud, or you can do it silently, just saying the word silently to yourself. And what you'll find, or at least what I find when I do that, is that the word begins to take on new and different meanings, and then eventually it just loses all meaning, and it's just sound, either actual sound that's resonating because you're saying the word out loud, or sound that's just occurring in your mind. If you put words together, we call that mantra. So maybe there's a mantra that you'd like to use as the source of your focus in meditation. There are a whole variety of mantras. You can make up your own. You can find many, many of them online. And another very common one I'd probably be remiss if I didn't mention is the Sanskrit word Om, which is said to be the universal sound of the universe, the primordial sound of the universe. You can repeat the word Om. Another interesting technique is to imagine the word Om emanating from the third eye, from eyebrow center, and just rolling out like ripples in a pond. So any of those are fine. Again, just pick something, experiment with it, and see how it works for you. It doesn't have to be the same from time to time or from session to session. You can change it up, or you can work on the same one maybe for a week or a month or even longer than that. So those are some additional techniques as you become more advanced in your meditation practice that you can use for focusing the mind and training the mind to focus on something very specific and tangible. The last thing I want to address is the question of how long should you meditate? And my answer to that is it really doesn't matter. Longer is not necessarily better. If you're just beginning a meditation practice, what I recommend is you start with 5 minutes. Stay with it for a week. And if it becomes easy, if it seems like, yeah, I'm pretty good at meditating for 5 minutes, then maybe increase it to 7 or 8 or even 10 minutes and do that for a week until it becomes easy to do and there's no strain at all involved in meditating for that period of time. On the other side, if 5 minutes is a challenge for you, if you find that you can't really do the counting that we talked about, counting the breath and going up to 5 and then back down to 1, or if you can't sustain focus on an object or a thought for 5 minutes, then reduce it. Go down to 2 minutes and do that for a week and allow yourself to become proficient doing the meditation for 2 minutes and then increase it maybe to 3 and 4 and 5. Remember, this is a lifetime practice. It's not a sprint that you're trying to get to in a week or even a month or even a year. It's something that you're going to be doing in the long term. So treat it that way. As I said before, my meditation practice at this stage has settled to about 45 minutes once a day. I've done different times in the past. As I think I mentioned earlier, I've done a 20-minute practice in the morning and a 20-minute practice in the evening. That worked nicely for a time. I've done longer practices. I've practiced for an hour or even more for some periods of time. And I want you to let go of the idea that longer is better. It isn't. What's important is to find a time, a length of time that feels comfortable for you. A length of time that you can do without straining and without forcing it. So that you don't come to a place where if you want to do 30 minutes of meditation, you get to 20 minutes and then you're out of meditation essentially. You've come out and your mind isn't focusing on whatever you want to focus anymore. Instead, you're thinking, when is this going to end? Is that timer going to happen soon? And so on. If that happens, dial it back to 20 minutes and just do the 20 minutes. And if 20 is too long, do 15. And maybe that's where you settle. So I don't want you to think that longer is better, because it's not. Well, that brings us to the end. It's really been an honor to be able to record this and hopefully to give you some tips and techniques to head you off towards a successful meditation practice. There are many, many resources that you can refer to, both online and written, that will help you with your meditation practice. If there's anything I can do to support you, let me know. You can find my email address at my website, garryappel.com, GarryAppel.com. Take care. Have a great day. Happy meditating.